Hello again. It's time for another edition of Music Matters. How you doing? I'm MonkeyBoy.
And I'm Ziggy.
And this week we are talking about heavy metal.
No, we're not.
Heavy music.
Heavy music.
Music. But metal will definitely
heavy
be in
music.
it. It'll definitely be in it.
Which I guess is heavy metal.
Yes.
But heavy would apply to anything.
Oh, there's a lot of different, genres, subgenres of of the heavy.
Let's go way back in the time machine and to Olivia Newton-John. Or no, not Debbie Boone.
Debbie Boone.
Do you remember Debbie Boone?
I do remember Debbie Boone.
Okay. What was that song she had? Do you remember?
Was it You Light Up My Life?
You light up my life. Okay. Anything that's heavier than that is heavy music.
Oh. All right, that's where the bar is set, friends.
Yeah, and it's okay if you don't look up Yoko Ono or Debbie Boone.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Two people
really,
we don't recommend.
No, not at all.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. But some other things we're going to talk about coming up here in a few weeks, because it's your idea time now. You get the next few weeks.
Oh, I do? Oh, okay,
to figure out what we're going to talk about.
All right.
But when it's my turn again, we're going to start with Bryan Adams.
I love that idea.
We did Phil Collins.
Yep.
We did Cyndi Lauper along with Rick Derringer. We'll continue to do those over time on different artists and things.
I like it.
I'm going to look up, and you can look up some fun and interesting facts about music, like, let's see, like the decibel level of music has changed. The length of songs has changed.
Sure.
Just some odd things. Maybe do an episode on that.
Yeah, we could do an episode on really long songs.
Yes, we're going to do an episode on really long songs.
I like that.
We're going to talk about K-pop and J-pop coming up.
Yeah. Something I know nothing about, but
that's okay.
That's all right.
Okay.
He's going to teach me.
Yeah,
we're going to learn.
I think we need to expand a little bit, and we need to talk about some of these other genres.
He has played me a couple songs of the K-pop genre, and they're interesting. They're
Blackpink.
Yeah.
In Your Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
In Your Neighborhood.
They're interesting. I mean, I wouldn't say they're what I would be into, but I still, there's a place for them for sure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Just like your 80s music.
Absolutely.
That's
I know that ain't everybody's deal either, but it sure, it pulls my crank. I don't know.
Well, I think in the weeks ahead what we should do is look at the 80s and discuss our least favorite songs of the 80s.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Or, for the first time ever, songs that we absolutely hate.
Okay. All right.
Because we dislike here, or it's not our thing, but we never hate. But we'll allow it.
We'll say we absolutely dislike.
Right.
Since we don't hate.
So we're going to discuss heavy music.
Yes.
We're going to go back in the time machine to see the beginning stage.
The birth
of it. But we are in 2025.
Amazing.
We are. And what is happening on the current rock charts? Yeah.
Well, let's take a look. At number 10 this week on the active rock charts, Pop Evil is standing there with Wishful Thinking. Good stuff from them. It moved up a spot. Hardy with Jim Bob comes in at number 9. Number 8 is Nothing More with Free Fall featuring Chris Daughtry. Number 7 is Sleep Theory with Static. There's a couple sleep bands that I really dig. Sleep Theory and Sleep...
Yeah, don't get me started because I can...
Token and I think there's another one too.
there's a few more.
There's quite a few of them lately. Mammoth with The End at number 6. Number 5, Five Finger Death Punch and I Refuse with Maria Brink. Number 4 is Killswitch Engage with I Believe. I still can't believe that is a top 5 hit. Killswitch Engage.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I never, ever, in my wildest dreams, would have thought that they would have ever hit top 5 on any chart. So that's great. Number 3, Chevelle with Rabbit Hole, Cowards Part 1. Number 2 is 3 Days Grace with Apologies. And number 1 track this week is Evanescence and Afterlife. So there you go. That's what's hot right now in the heavy charts.
It is. I did want to discuss, it's not on the chart yet. I know in a previous episode I talked about how heartbroken I am that Brian is no longer with I Prevail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
Yeah, no, something did come out today. It doesn't sound like that was a really amicable split. Like there was maybe some internal issues.
Animosity.
Some animosity.
Mm-hmm.
He does have that health issue too. But
sure.
Anyway, they have come out with a new song.
Yep, and it's pretty good from what I've heard.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm surprised now. I was immediately drawn to it by the drums. There's very good drums in the song.
Yeah.
Eric handles the singing, high harmonies, or the guitar player. It's a good song.
Yeah.
You know
rocks.
what? It would be better.
Yeah, probably
if
would be.
Brian was on
Brian
it.
was there, but
Yeah.
But all in all, still a good tune.
It is a good tune.
You know, I'm glad to see them still, doing their thing.
Well, we should probably talk about heavy music.
All right. That heavy metal started way back in the 60s, believe it or not. Who would you say, in your head, this is just Shawnee's opinion, is the godfather of heavy metal? Or heavy music?
Well, I think after all these years of being on the earth, I would have to say, and I think anyone has to say, it's Black Sabbath. But I know for me, I was born in '69, and a lot of this stuff is just forming. So,
right.
Really the first heavy thing I heard was Jimi Hendrix' Purple Haze.
Yeah, that's a great track.
Yeah.
And the Beatles, they had some heavy stuff. Helter Skelter, I think of.
Helter Skelter.
That's a heavy track.
Yeah.
They have a couple of others as well that are really kind of on the heavy side. Then there's the Stones. They had some heavier stuff for the 1960s. The Who. Led Zeppelin, the Yardbirds, Cream, the Kinks, all of them kind of, helped create that heavy sound. They all went for a darker, heavier beat, a little bit faster rhythm.
I believe that heavy music, because Bob Dylan plugged in.
Yep.
Which took a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, it did.
I think that it's very defining where it starts. You had Black Sabbath come around.
Yep.
But there had been nothing like that ever before.
No. Black Sabbath, they definitely started something, that was...
Well, I think Black Sabbath made people stand at attention.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, what is this?
It scared the shit out of them, is what they did.
Well, it would be like riding in a jet with the, all the G-force.
Yeah.
Because, again, this music in the late 60s and we know in the 70s was very adult contemporary.
And
it was very
bubblegummy,
light and fluffy.
Yes.
and bubblegummy. And then you have Tony Iommi coming hit that guitar. And I think it just put G-forces into people's lives and they had to stand at attention. And then Led Zeppelin comes along.
Yep.
And there again, you're talking about a guitar player that when he hit the guitar, you felt that power.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the aggression.
Deep Purple was another one of those bands that brought in that heavier beat, that darker sound that it was just different than anything else.
Well, and how does a young man or a young woman now define themselves as a metal guitar player You know,
Right.
You got little, Wanda over here. You got Wanda wanting to learn guitar, and she wants to be a metal guitarist. So for the next 5 years, she's just going to go dun 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 dun. How many of your? I
that's
have
the original.
a lot of musician friends. Me and my brothers growing up, man, they were always dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody.
But there's great power in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who learned guitar, especially 70s and 80s,
Mm-hmm.
they learned that song.
I'm going to tell you that I've always been a frustrated musician. I would love to learn how to play the guitar. I know like less than 1% on how to play the bass, but I can play the guitar riff on the bass.
Can you?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I can play guitar a little tiny bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why haven't we started a band, man? You want to jam?
I mean, sure,
jam
but
once
I
a
mean,
week?
I don't have a guitar or but yeah, that'd be fun.
Do you sing?
I could.
Oh,
I could pretend.
we can get Ashley to sing.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
All
right, cool.
right.
I'm gonna jam with now. Whew.
So, those early sounds kind of formed that genre, and then subgenres would come out of that, like the shock rock with Alice Cooper and Kiss, and the New York Dolls, and then you had straightforward rockers like Aerosmith come out, Van Halen, Judas fucking Priest. I mean,
Rainbow.
I mean, of course, Ronnie James Dio fronting Rainbow.
Priest, Motorhead.
Motorhead. The Ramones, great punk, but they were really hard and heavy too.
But I mean, those were the pillars.
Yeah.
From the late '60s through the '70s, Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple.
Late 70s, early 80s, you get into bands like Iron Maiden, who I think, amazingly got no airplay at all in the, early days.
Who?
Iron Maiden.
I will tell you, Andy, that, as you know, because we worked together, I did radio for a long time.
Right.
And I've been listening to the radio for a long time.
Yeah.
I believe I've only heard Iron Maiden on the radio maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was probably the one that was playing it.
Well, I used to play Maiden, but they are very well known for that. They are
so huge.
They're not the only band that,
right?
I mean,
they're like the Grateful Dead of metal. Like, they have a fan base that is so huge.
Yeah, because the Grateful Dead didn't really have any big massive hits.
No. I mean, they had Casey Jones and Trucker, but I mean, they weren't. Touch of Grey was kind of a hit.
Yeah, well,
but they weren't
following.
Big hits.
Their following came from
just them being out there and jamming,
and jamming and stuff in a jam band like Dream Theater, another band that we like and love. I believe the only song that's ever been played on the radio is
Pull Me Under.
Pull Me Under.
Yeah.
Pull Me Under. But I mean, they've been around for a long time, have a great following, and it's amazing what Iron Maiden achieved not getting much radio.
Right? I mean, I don't know how. I mean, they grew such a huge worldwide fan base.
I think Iron Maiden has just always been on the road.
Yeah. And they have really, 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 I mean, if you've gone to an Iron Maiden show, you know. But their shows are just incredible.
They are. Now, I will tell you something. That Nico McBrain, their drummer,
yep,
he retired.
He did.
Deservedly so. No one has a problem with that.
No.
No one in music media, no one in the band. They have a new drummer. I can't remember his name right offhand, but
I don't know it either.
He is also the drummer for British Lion, which is the side band of bassist Steve Harris.
Right.
So I was watching some live clips of them on this current tour, and it's weird to see them without that big drum set behind them.
Oh, he doesn't have a big drum set?
Well, I think it's big, but
not Nico McBrain big.
Well, I mean, Nico, if you were at the front of the stage, you never saw him at an Iron
No,
Maiden
it
show
was just the drums.
The drums were really high up.
Yeah.
You know, he had a setup like no one else's. This big, huge toms, and
yep,
and would often play above the shoulder to hit him and stuff. And his drums, their current drummer, his drums are kind of down low. But they sound great.
Yeah.
There's no drop off in talent whatsoever. He's playing all of Nico's parts and does them. They sound great. It just looks odd.
Yeah. They'll get used to that. I mean, I think eventually.
I'm good. I'd go see them.
Yeah, I would definitely go see them again. I've seen them 3 times, and they were great. But I've seen them twice with you.
Okay,
for
so
sure.
then I've seen them 3 times.
Did we go see 3? Did you go to Sioux Falls with me?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Oh, well.
Anyway, we've seen Iron Maiden, and we highly recommend them.
They were great. And, just a great part of the heavy metal experience. Other bands like that, Saxon deserves to be mentioned. They're not a band you're going to hear on the radio, but they are really, really good in a similar vein to Iron Maiden. Some of the other, then, they went into the music kind of changed again, and it went into more of a glam phase, or some would call it the hair metal. And I prefer the glam, I think, as a term. Because yes, it was all about the hair. Because you can't give me one band that didn't have long hair at that time. I maybe one. I can think of one, and that was Judas Priest.
Well, yeah, because Rob Halford has never had long hair that I can recall.
No, he's like the only one I can think of that had short hair.
Yeah.
But other than that, everybody had the long hair.
Had the long hair. And then, I mean, there was long hair and there was hair, because your Metallicas were not coming out with their hair poofed out, makeup on.
They looked like they just got out of bed.
Saxon, Armored Saint, I mean, all of those metal bands, Halloween and stuff. They weren't. They were coming out rough and tumble, like they just got off their bike, or at least that was they were trying to give you this tough guy image.
Yeah.
And then but you had people, I mean,
and then there's Bon Jovi.
Well, there's Bon Jovi, and
his hair was all
Motley
just
Crue.
Perfect, and Motley Crue, and and
I mean,
Cinderella.
I don't know if we can research to find who the first hair band is. I mean, I would think someone like maybe Angel, or
maybe,
I don't know. Quiet Riot covered
Bon Jovi
songs. Quiet Riot covered 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah.
By that group, and they were considered heavy music. They were considered metal.
Yeah.
Can you think of the band? I shouldn't have brought it up if I didn't look it up first, right?
I can't think. I mean, there was Sweet back in the day that Quiet Riot covered.
Is it Sweet? Maybe it is. Well, they did Ballroom Blitz.
Well, Sweet also, or who did the original? Why can't I think of the name of the song? God, we're...
Come on, Feel the Noise?
Yeah. Who did the original?
Well, that's what we're looking up. God.
Slade.
Yes, Slade. Thank you very
did the
much.
Original.
So Slade, I mean, you know, Come On, Feel the Noise, and
Yeah.
what was the other one quite right covered by them?
I don't know. Was it Mama We're All Crazy Now?
I believe that I believe that's it. But anyway, their version is
Heavier.
bland.
Yeah.
But yeah, glam, you know, glam is a pretty good term. I mean,
They all had their outfits and their look, you know, it was all a style.
now
had 'em.
they didn't the amazing thing at that time, and I think even if you go back to the metal artists of the 70s, you know, they couldn't find that clothing. A lot of them made it.
Oh, yeah.
Their stage clothing.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of them made
Vince
it.
Neil was probably sitting at a sewing machine.
Yeah, probably.
Making his clothes.
Yeah.
You know, because they're all beginning bands. That stuff didn't come off a rack. You know, a lot of them made it. A lot of them didn't have the money. Had to build their own stages and
Right.
speaker boxes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. They were metal.
Yeah, they truly
They
were.
metal.
Absolutely.
Drove to gigs in the back of pickup trucks.
The Motley Crue story is an interesting one. If you ever seen the biography, how they started off playing, you know, all those club gigs, and then somehow just got lucky. And was it Doc McGee, or I don't remember who
Yeah, I believe he's the manager. For
one of the guy saw them playing at a club, and the rest is history.
Yeah, speaking of Doc McGee, I mean, he had a lot of artists back in the this glam metal time.
For sure.
He's still managing.
Still do it, isn't he?
Scorpions and Bon Jovi and
Kiss. Yeah, I was gonna say he still manages Kiss.
And I mean, he had tons of them.
Yeah.
And still manages some of those older ones and quite a few of the current ones too. But yeah, I thought Doc McGee was pretty good at picking out talent, you know.
Yeah.
Because he used to fly to New York and L.A. and all over the country to these clubs to see these bands.
Yeah.
I believe he would have been an A&R guy for Kiss. Was on the Mercury label, right?
Yep.
Bon Jovi was on the Mercury label, and the Scorpions were on the Mercury label.
Yep. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he knew what he was doing.
Oh man.
Made a lot of
yeah, he had a lot
stars.
of big name bands that are still huge to the day.
Yeah.
And still sell out everywhere.
Yeah.
So in the 80s we had, you know, we had the hair metal and that kind of genre of the heavy metal music, but we also had the real heavy metal music, and we're talking about bands like Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Testament, Megadeth.
Sure.
All of those are just huge.
Well, I mean, you know, you're talking about bands that, of course, were inspired by Black Sabbath.
Yeah, absolutely.
They thought, well, this is cool. We can do that, but how fast can your feet go? How fast can your fingers go? And I think that those bands were all very technical. All of the players. You started to get that kind of style. Just the going up and down the fret and, you know, tapping and stuff. You know? Yeah. They
were very, very different than anything that was out there. And I think, you know, bands like Diamond Head and Venom, they kind of spawned those bands. You know, they were a little bit before them, and they kind of were the ones that brought them into existence. I know Diamond Head is a huge influence into Metallica.
Yes.
For example.
Yes, they're big fans.
Yeah, big fans of them. Of course, another big band in the 80s. We talked about, bands like Motley Crue. You also had bands from Britain, like Def Leppard. That came over in the 80s that were huge, and they had a different sound than they do now, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, they were really kind of heavy back in the day.
They were.
And then they kind of, grew into themselves. And
yeah, you had Wasp. Wasp was heavy.
Loved
Wasp
Wasp.
Wasp was banging. You had Quiet Riot. I think they really fit into that.
Yeah,
glam
for sure. Sure, they definitely got that stuff. And then of course you had bands like Warrant came along afterwards. Poison, Cinderella, Guns N' Roses. Though we got to talk about Guns. N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses they're not a metal band.
No, they're a rock band.
They're a rock band, but they had the puffy hair because their management was it Doc McGee? No, they were on Geffen. They were on Geffen Records. Told them, you need to puff your hair out. But yeah, I wouldn't. Guns N' Roses, not metal. They're a rock band. They're a great rock band.
Great rock band.
Fantastic rock band. Not not slamming them in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, they just were not.
Yeah. No.
There was other bands at that time, but yeah, we'll do an episode on
actual 80s hair band.
Yeah.
Because there's so many.
What didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One band that, definitely was in that, lumped into that hair metal genre was Skid Row, but they were more on the heavier side of things, especially after their first album.
Well, yeah, they were a hard rock band.
Yeah.
Again, they had the big hair too, but that's because everyone was doing it. But they weren't, they weren't singing about cherry pie.
No,
Yeah.
And they were bringing Pantera out on the road with them.
Right.
Like that's.
Yeah.
They think about it. Pantera was opening for Skid Row.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about, but I know a lot of people who saw that tour and were blown away.
Right.
By both bands. Skid Row. People to this day want the original Skid Row to reunite, and it's just not going to happen. I don't think there's any amount of money that they can throw that they are going to say, yeah, you know what, let's quash this and let's go out on tour.
Yeah, they did.
They I think genuinely hate Sebastian Bach.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the guys in Skid Row.
Oh, yeah, it seems like it comes up in the press every week.
Oh,
he's music press.
Sebastian's always pushing for it. Mm-hmm. He wants it bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame him. That was where the money is.
Right.
Skid Row would net millions and millions of dollars if they would just reunite and hit the road.
Yeah, but the other guys don't care about that.
No, they don't care. They would rather be happy and be out on tour playing for a couple hundred people than be out playing for a couple 100,000 and be miserable the whole time. Which I can't say I blame them. If they have a genuine dislike that much of Sebastian, then why put themselves through that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, 87.
Yeah. Great album.
Okay, the following year, Jane's Addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Not a metal band.
No.
Came out of the same LA scene.
Same place, yeah.
Same place. Steve Pond of Rolling Stone declared, as much as any band in existence, Jane's Addiction is the true heir to Led Zeppelin.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first album is, it's much like Zeppelin, different than anything that was at the time.
But that's it.
But that's not. I wouldn't say they're similar to Zeppelin in any way other than that.
Yep.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Right. So let's fast forward.
Okay, where do you want to head to?
We're going to head to the mid-1990s, and we're talking now about the new wave of American heavy metal.
All right.
Okay. And it expanded into the early mid-2000s, which is, pretty much the stuff that we love.
Oh, I'm a huge fan. That's all I listen to, really.
I'm looking here. So, the new wave of American heavy metal, NWOAHM, term coined by Mark Hunter, vocalist for Chimera.
Oh, yeah, okay.
2001. So, a lot of that is, you're getting your post-grunge in there. You're getting some punk in your heavy music. You're getting some trash in your heavy music. Korn.
Korn is, one of the greatest metal bands of all time.
Pioneers, I guess. Maybe of
new metal.
Of new metal, but when Korn comes on, it's Korn.
Absolutely.
You have that. I mean, just that funky loud bass.
Yep. The heaviness of it all.
Yeah, it was a whole new kind of heavy.
Yeah.
It was the bands of that time.
Yeah, nobody sounded like that.
Not at all. Not at all. Machine Head.
Oh, I love Machine Head.
Well, they are the roots of, along with Biohazard and Pantera.
Biohazard's a great band as well.
That a part of that new wave.
Yep. Prong, another one of those bands that was great back in the day.
So this, we know, you and I know, that from the mid-90s and back to about 2015, everyone just starts getting more technical.
Oh, yeah.
Technical. You still got your bands that are leaning on that traditional metal sound. You had bands like Lamb of God come out, Killswitch Engage,
Shadows Fall,
Trivium, Meshuggah. Started in, I believe it was the late 80s, 88, 89. Groove metal, death metal, gloom metal, whatever you want to call it. Unearth was another band, that Coheed and Cambria, which I'm not a big fan of theirs, but they've been around for a very long time. Really inspired by the 1970s, and
one band that I definitely got to mention is Typo Negative. Loved me some Typo Negative, and they kind of, had that Black Sabbath feel. Like, they were very Sabbathy, but a little bit darker, if that can be possible. A little bit heavier. Peter Steele's voice is so much deeper, and I don't know, it just sends a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Love me some Typo Negative.
Typo Negative. What was I can't
Bloody
remember.
Kisses was like one of the best albums of heavy metal.
Typo Negative. I'm trying to think of what the name of that other band is. It was out right around the same time as them. I can't remember now.
Corrosion of Conformity.
Corrosion of Conformity was, is another early one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was another really good one.
And people cite them as a source, but so you're getting into now the 2000s, and you're hearing of bands like born out of with Korn. You had Linkin Park,
Disturbed,
POD,
Stained,
Five Finger Death Punch,
Chevelle,
yeah, Godsmack,
yeah,
3 Days
Buck
Grace,
Cherry.
Breaking Benjamin.
And so many. Shinedown.
Yeah, we can just go on and on and on. That just started coming out left and right.
Right.
And I think a lot of that was more hard rock than it was metal.
For sure. There wasn't a lot of metal in those bands.
But you still
but
had...
they had elements of metal.
But it still had the same energy as metal.
Yeah.
The aggressiveness. And when we say aggressiveness, we don't mean like just constantly hollering at you,
right? No,
screaming at you, because that's a misconception about metal music. Is it's just a bunch of screaming?
Right.
No, there's very melodic, beautiful,
absolutely
heavy music out there.
Yeah, this power metal we haven't even covered, but power metal. If you ever listen to power metal,
we'll cover power metal and symphonic metal.
Yeah, like
sometime.
Those are some interesting.
Yeah, we
genres.
don't want to scare people off and think we're just going to talk about metal.
It's true.
Although
it's true.
We're more likely to talk about that every episode than we are about Andy's 1980s.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But yeah, so there was those bands in the early 2000s.
Dragon Force.
Yeah, Dragon Force. Was
came out around that time. They were a really interesting band compared to what was out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Very guitar oriented, very speed metal, like almost.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was good.
But in the early 2000s, a lot of bands. A lot of hard rock bands came out.
Yeah.
A lot of the more Metallica-inspired, like your Triviums.
Yep.
Bless the Fall.
Yep.
They kind of stayed on that path, just added their own touch with the technical stuff, still had the same aggression and energy behind it and everything. And then, this metalcore term, it starts getting tossed around, and a lot of those bands are metalcore, and we that's pretty much what it's called now.
Yeah, that's what heavy metal, I guess, would be called now, is metalcore.
Is metalcore. I think it's a very umbrella. The core thing, I think, scares people.
Yeah.
Metalcore.
Yeah.
That sounds evil.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't listen to that.
It's
Crosses in the air.
I think it's because they scream a lot, but
Well, yeah. So nu metal has that blend of, or not nu metal, but metalcore has that blend of a clean vocalist and a dirty vocalist.
Right.
A lot of them just have a clean vocalist. A lot of them just have a dirty vocalist.
Yeah.
Every song, every band that you listen to is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of bands that do scream throughout the song, but I don't listen to that all day.
Right.
Right.
There's bands like Lorna Shore that are just
Lorna Shore. Now that's
screaming.
The noise that our dads talked about. But
yeah.
I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it. Paleface Swiss, Enterprise Earth.
Yeah.
Really,
really heavy.
Again,
heavy,
as
heavy
I've
stuff.
said in other episodes, I never listened to this kind of music at all 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I listened to hard rock like Maiden and Metallica.
Sure.
This
me
is
too.
something I dove into and learned everything about it, and I love a lot of stuff I never ever thought I'd even like.
Yeah.
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 So, and you can do that with any kind of music.
Any kind of music.
Any kind of music.
Yeah.
Just dive into it. But, you had, I guess, can you call Trivium progressive rock? I mean...
Kind of, yeah. I would say they're kind of progressive.
But...
Not like Tool, but...
No, no, and I is Tool a metal band? I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. Tool's just
Tool's
Tool,
just
man.
a little different.
There's just really nothing like them. But now we're the Godsmacks and the Hailstorms and all that. They've been around for 25 years.
Oh yeah. It's now starting to be classic rock.
It's now starting to be classic rock, and we're hearing new bands now, despite Gene Simmons of Kiss saying rock is dead.
Right.
It continues to somehow
bands
march
like
on.
Poppy and
Poppy went
Doobie.
from pop music to the screamo music.
Yeah. And
a lot of people know who Poppy is.
Yeah. Poppy's great.
Yeah.
Just a lot of interesting stuff out there now.
We've got we've discussed Sleep Token.
Yep, Sleep Token.
Sleep
Theory
Token is referred to here lately as a gateway band.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
You listen to a little bit of Sleep Token, and they're defined by multiple genres in each and every song.
Yeah.
They just blend all this, and as a tendency, it did for me anyway. The first time I heard them, it just kind of roped me in.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear a little bit more. Some days I'm in the mood, some days I'm not. But it will, for anyone that isn't into heavy music,
that's the way it is.
Yeah, they're going to take you from the hard rock, and they're going to show you what a breakdown is, which is another element of metalcore, is a breakdown instead of a guitar solo, although there's a lot of it that has both a guitar solo and a breakdown. But
I'm glad there's still guitar solos.
I much prefer the breakdown.
I like the breakdown, but give me a guitar solo too.
Well,
give me both.
Okay, I mean, there's very technical guys.
It doesn't have to be a lot of a long guitar solo. Just give me a little bit of something.
Like Jason Richardson.
A good.
You don't know who he is. He took over for the late great Ole and All That Remains.
Oh, okay, all right.
Another great band.
Yeah,
Hatebreed.
Yeah, Hatebreed's great.
What else? What else can you think of?
Wage War.
Ooh, Wage War and Era.
Yeah, Era.
And Bad Omens.
Bad Omens.
Bad Omens.
So many great...
That's another band that really has brought some people to heavy music is Bad Omens.
Yeah. So, there's just so many. We didn't even touch a lot of the 90s stuff. Like, you had your industrial stuff with Fear Factory and 9 Inch Nails and Ministry. You had weird stuff like Primus and Faith No More.
But it's okay, Andy. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because we can do this again.
We can. We can definitely do this again.
It's the Music Matters podcast, and we're always going to talk about the matters of music. And if we want to talk about the 90s, which we do, we'll do that in a future episode, I guess.
Absolutely. That sounds like a good idea.
When it comes to metal, ooh.
Yeah, we could talk days.
Well, there's a lot to unpack in every genre of music.
Yeah, there is.
I know that you want to unpack more of that country music.
Oh, God, yes. We have to do that someday.
I believe we should do an entire episode on Buck Owens. But,
all right. I don't know who that is, but sure.
Well, we're going to teach you who Buck Owens is. Boy.
All right.
Well, you're on the radio.
I am. Yeah, MonkeyBoyRadio.com is where you can find me. You can check it out on Saturday nights. I'm on the Real Rock Nights show with Shep. I do a thing called Chartbound with Monkey Boy, and then on Sundays you can check out Dad Rock. Yeah, you can also check out Sally there. Dad Rock is Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. It's new rock from classic artists, and then the Underground is Sunday night at 7 p.m., and that features local, regional, and national up-and-coming rockers. So there you go.
All right. Well, you can find me really nowhere.
Just laying on the couch.
Yeah, it's summer and it's hot. Who wants to go out in it?
Right.
We do want to introduce you once again to Sally, the podcast dog. She has to be by our side when we're doing the podcast, but every now and then she's got to go out.
So I think she's saying it's time. So
yeah.
We're going to wrap things up. Thanks for joining us, and this is the Music Matters Podcast. I'm MonkeyBoy.
And I'm Ziggy.
Thanks for listening.